In 2019, the ministry came under a scandal with reports of financial abuse, psychological abuse. Essentially, the Calvary Chapel church members were funding the ministry, believing that money was going to help and feed and clothe children in Uganda, in Cambodia, in Costa Rica, in Guatemala. But apparently it wasn't actually going there. No one really exactly knew where the money was going.
What Candace is talking about, we've seen this at scale globally when we were filming season 1 of The Religion Business. Think about this. Secular nonprofits file an annual informational sheet with the IRS called a 990. It's just a high-level informational document that shows where the money goes. Religious institutions, churches, do not have to file this document. This means that there's no legal document that religious organizations are held to account on. Chris always says what's measured gets managed. If donors do not know where their money is going, there is nothing to be managed. So what does this mean? It means we end up with pretty pie charts, photos of children, out of this world annual stats that are all just smoke and mirrors. All of this is ran off good intentions. And like we always say, good intentions pave the way to hell.
And this is interesting because they specifically ran a student program called Ignite. And one of those students wound up blowing the whistle. She handled Potter's Field's finances. And here is what she said verbatim about how this not-for-profit would pretend that they were feeding tons of kids worldwide, but actually they were having her engage in fraudulent activity. Allegedly.
We actually heard firsthand accounts of this while we were overseas. American organizations would fly over and photograph the orphaned children, tell the local hardworking organization that they would take the photos of the kids back and help them raise money and then send that money back. In one case, a U.S. religious organization raised over $400,000 for a charity that was on the ground working with orphans. Not a single dollar ever made it back to those kids that they photographed.
Would show videos with hundreds of children being fed during their presentations in order to solicit donations from Calvary church members, but that those images were from infrequent, larger pastor conferences. She also said that Potter's field workers were told to Photoshop old letters from kids in the program with the altered letters being sent out to donors. She said, quote, "We would always have to cut off the dates so that they wouldn't know how old the photos were. Then we'd just photocopy hundreds of them and then just trifold them all and mail them out, because we mail out these little things like, thanks again for your support. And here is, a thing from your prayer child. They wrote you a letter."
That sounds like a straight up scam with no transparency regarding donor finances. No transparency leads to no accountability. These horrible stories would never see the light of day without bold whistleblowers actually blowing the whistle. This problem is happening at scale. And here's the kicker. We're talking about generous Christians wanting to be the hands and feet of Christ. They give over $1 trillion a year to religious organizations that do not have to file a legal document regarding transparency. $1 trillion a year is given annually. That is bigger than the U.S. military budget. So I've got a question for all the dissenters who are pushing back against our call for transparency within religious organizations. When is enough enough? When is it time to stand up to public scrutiny? Is it when the entire system collapses from abuse? Because right now, $92 billion a year is straight stolen from religious institutions. That doesn't include scams like this one that Candace talked about. Chris and I say enough is enough now. It's time to turn the light on. The wolves will run from the light, and the true shepherds, I think, will joyfully walk into it. And here's the kicker. I think once people see their money being used and stewarded properly, they're probably going to give more. Because again, Christians want to be the hands and feet of Christ.